And so with that, we are going to move along to Nrel and learn how researchers turn the energy of wind and water into electricity. So now let's join Nrel educators in creating wind turbines and out of basic materials after we learn a little bit about the lab.
There are no fans, no halftime shows or giant foam fingers, no championship rings or highlight reels. Just a team of dedicated individuals, building upon decades of practice and discovery to achieve one goal. Our planet needs us, more than it ever has before. Climate change, cyber threats, energy inequality, environmental justice, these urgent challenges have inspired us for decades to get out of bed each morning, put in the long hours, to make sure we get it right. Since 1977, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory has been working to transform energy and create a more sustainable way of life. And while we are the pioneers of solar energy, our research has grown to include grid modernization, transportation, advanced manufacturing, integrated energy systems, wind, water, bioenergy, hydrogen, and more. This work we do provides a future for our planet, for the next generation, a future in which all individuals are represented and valued. But we cannot do it alone. At Nrel, partnering is part of our DNA. We know that success depends on creating an even larger team, which includes government, academia, and industry, working together to further what's possible and to discover what's next. Innovation, discovery, collaboration, and commitment. These are not just buzzwords. These words have been our anthem for over 40 years. Because excellence doesn't happen overnight, and the world can't wait another moment. The clock is ticking. The time is now. Let's do this.
Hey everybody, we are so excited to be joining you. I am actually joining you from Nrel's campus. I'm inside our education center. So I am joined by my colleague Byron, and we are part of the education team here at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. And we are so excited to be joining you guys today to celebrate Earth Day. And we thought that in honor of Earth Day, we should spend a little bit of time talking about some of these renewable energy resources that can actually help us save our Earth. So we are going to be talking to you today about wind, and I'm going to hand it over to Byron to get us started.
Thank you, Megan. So wind is one of our favorite, at least Megan and I's favorite renewable energy sources. So we love teaching about wind energy. And what we hope to do with you today is we want to kind of pull the curtain back so you can see what's actually going on inside a wind turbine. And so I'm going to begin by showing you a magic trick. Here at the Education Center, I am known as the magician. And I am going to show you a magic trick. And bear with me because it's related to wind energy. So give me 1 second to switch.
While Byron is getting his camera switched, I just thought I would tell you a little bit about Nrel. We are so excited. We are actually celebrating our 45th birthday this year. So while we started out just focusing on solar energy, we started out as the Solar Energy Research Institute. Now we've expanded to include, just like our video shared with you, all of these different renewable energy resources. And if you don't know what that word means, renewable energy resource just means that this is an energy source that can continue to give us energy forever, which is really cool. So this includes things like the sun, wind, hydropower, just things like rivers and using the streams to help give us energy. And then it also includes tidal, which is kind of a new fancy one, which utilizes the fact that the ocean goes up and down at a really regular pace. And we've figured out how to harness that energy. So just a lot of really exciting research has taken place on our campus in the last 45 years. Faith or Anne Marie, did we lose Byron? Oh no, there he is.
No, there I am. Okay. So now here's the magic trick that I'm going to show you. This is known as the pin dance. That's what I've called this magic trick. And you will see that with a little bit of mind control and magic from myself, I can make this pin kind of dance around. So you can see. Sometimes I could even get it to stand up. Let's see. I don't think my magic is strong today, but let me see if I can try to make it stand up. Oh, it's going up. Come on, come up a little more. Okay, so as you can see, I am kind of, and there's nothing attached to it. It's just a regular pin. So that is my magic trick. And as all of you might have been wondering, how is it that I'm doing that magic trick? And if one of it, I wish that I can have some volunteers kind of tell me what they think that I'm doing, but I'm not gonna, since I can't get any, maybe in the chat, can someone tell me how I'm doing this? And I'll keep explaining as I go on. So if you in the chat can tell me how is it that I'm doing my magic trick, I'm gonna reveal to you how it is that kind of wind turbines work.
So we have some suggestions that you're using Hogwarts power. That's what I always think he's using.
I
appreciate that suggestion. We also
yeah.
have maybe that you're blowing on it.
Oh, I was not blowing on it. That is not, but I think you're getting close. I hope someone thinks that I'm actually doing this with my mind, because mind control is my favorite magic trick. But did we get any suggestions?
That is it. We do have a suggestion that if you have a guess, you can go ahead and tweet your thoughts using the hashtag Energy Earth Day. So if you have any thoughts and you want to share them, go ahead and tweet them using hashtag Energy Earth Day.
So since we have a couple of suggestions, so we have a couple of people that think I was blowing on it. I was not blowing on it. I was not also using my mind control, as I said. I was actually using some very, very strong magnets. And so magnets are actually one of the biggest things that we actually use in wind turbines so that we can get that energy from the wind and we can get that electricity from that mechanical energy. So I'm going to show you exactly now how I was doing that. So I was doing that with my very own home-built electromagnetic generator. So this electromagnetic generator uses magnets and copper wire to transform mechanical energy into electrical energy. So what you can see is right now I'm gonna rotate my magnet with this copper wire that is wrapped around the outside. And as you can see, what is happening is the magnet is pushing those electrons around in the copper wire, and it's causing those electrons to move. And we know that electricity is just the movement of those electrons in a wire. And there you go, like magic, we have electricity by just converting that movement into electrical energy.
But it's so much better than magic because it's science, so it's real.
Yeah. It is not, yeah, it is real. It's science.
So Byron, how does this relate to how wind works?
So this relates to wind works because you are going to embark on, Megan is going to give you a cool activity where you're going to embark on building your very own wind turbine. And so I actually have my very own wind turbine somewhere around my lab desk here. I don't know where it went. Oh, here it is. So I have my very own home-built wind blades. And so what is happening when you're looking at a wind turbine is when you attach your blades to your generator, which is kind of like what you see in the back of a wind turbine, you see that there are blades attached to this vertical structure, and behind it in what is known as the nacelle is a generator. So what is happening when the wind is then blowing is, so when the wind is really strong and blowing, we have these magnets that are spinning as a result of the wind, and then we get our LEDs to light up, or we get that electricity because the wind, that mechanical energy from the wind, is actually moving those magnets, and then transforming that mechanical energy into electrical energy. And then you have to do it really fast, so it won't work right here because I'm also cheating because I'm doing it with my hand, but you kind of can see that. I do have to build a better one, but this is essentially what is happening outside, like behind of those blades that you're seeing in a wind turbine. You have these large magnets with lots of copper wire that allows that mechanical energy to be transformed into electrical energy.
Nice. Thank you so much for sharing that, because it is really, really cool. Kind of how simple a wind turbine is, and yet it provides us so much electricity. One wind turbine alone can give us enough energy to power between 300 to 500 houses. That's just so cool to me. So that's why we wanted to focus on wind today. And that's why we're going to teach you guys how to build a very basic wind turbine. So I'm going to switch over to what I call my lab bench. To do this activity, you are going to need a couple sheets of construction paper. 2 is the minimum that you will need. However, I like to have an extra one lying around just in case you're feeling extra creative. Being extra creative, you're going to be able to kind of work out maybe an alternative way to build one of these wind turbines. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, I'm going to need a couple pieces of construction paper, scissors, a push pin, and then some tape. I am going to use duct tape today. Scotch tape also works really well. The only type of tape that I don't recommend using is masking tape. Masking tape just doesn't stick that well. It's goal. All right, so let's get started. The first thing that we're going to need is we have to create a square with our sheet of paper. All sheets of paper come in a rectangular shape, but it's pretty easy to get them to a square. I'm going to take one of my corners and fold it over to meet the edge of my sheet of paper. I'm going to try to make it so that it's a really nice lineup. I'm going to fold it really well. Now I'm going to use a marker. You do not have to do this step. You could just cut right along here. I like to use a marker to just give myself a really nice space to make my cut. So now when I unfold my sheet, you'll see I've got this straight line. That's where I'm going to cut across. Something really fun that we learned about wind turbines recently is that wind turbines that live on land in America have an average height of about 280 feet. So wind turbines that you guys are driving past, when you see them out in fields or places like that, they are really, really tall. Ours will not be that tall, you'll be happy to know, or maybe your parents will be happy to know. So now I've got this beautiful square that I've created. And you can see that I've got a diagonal line going across. I actually want to make another diagonal line. So I'm going to connect my corners again, make my fold. So now you can see that I've created an X across my square. This X is going to give me the guidelines for where I'm going to create my cuts so that I can make my wind turbine blades.
Megan, also another interesting fact about wind turbines is that most people don't realize, but those wind turbines have a life expectancy of 20 to 30 years. So they can be built and they will run for 20 to 30 years before they have to be kind of serviced or taken down.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Byron. All right, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to mark dotted lines for my next cut. Right along one of my diagonal lines, I'm going to make a dotted line that goes a little past halfway. And I'm going to do that on all of my diagonals. I'm just giving myself these lines so that I know where to make my cuts. And I remember not to cut all the way to the center, because if I cut all the way to the center, then I'm going to end up with 4 triangles rather than a wind turbine. All right. Now that I've got where I'm going to cut laid out, I'm going to start making them. I cut right along that dotted line that I drew for myself. And once you've done that, you're going to see you're going to make almost 2 little walking legs. You're going to take one of those walking legs and you're going to kind of loop it and swoop it into the center. This is where we need our first piece of tape.
And remember to not push it down, because we do like that swoop to happen.
I'm going to go ahead, tape it. And like Byron was saying, you'll notice that when I pull this up, you can see that really nice swoop in there. That's going to become really important for making sure that my wind turbine can accept the wind. I'm going to move to my next corner following the swoop of my turbine. I'm going to cut again. So again, I've created those 2 little walking legs. I'm going to take the corner that is not attached to my paper already, and I'm going to swoop it in. Maybe this could be a place where you guys tried it when you were making your next one. What happens if you create something like that? That would be a really interesting test to run if you guys want to build another one after you're done with this one. But I do recommend building the basic one first. It's kind of good science to have what we call a control. A control is something that we know how it works, or we know how to measure how it works. So you can almost consider this wind turbine that we're building together a control for if you wanted to keep experimenting a little bit later.
Yeah, and if you notice, to Megan's point, most wind turbines that you see when you're driving in fields, they have 3 blades. So I don't know if maybe you wonder why that is. Why can't we put 4 or 5 or 10?
So I'm going to keep going. I follow the swoop of this blade and I make this cut again, stopping right where my dotted line ends. That's why I put it there. It makes my life easy. Byron, while we're doing this, what do you think is your favorite part about working at Nrel?
My favorite part about working at Nrel is that the work that we do at Nrel is truly working towards what you saw in the video, is saving the planet. So because our work relies mostly on renewable energy, we know that we are pushing technology that could potentially make us less reliant on fossil fuels, which we know have these toxic chemicals that are released as a result of burning them. So I like knowing that the work that we do is leading towards a better world and a better and a cleaner planet. What about you, Megan?
I completely agree. I think it is. So I came from a chemistry background, and chemistry is maybe not always the cleanest of the sciences. We can make some pretty nasty reactions. So I feel really honored that I can now work at a place where chemistry has such a beautiful path into being a clean science. So I think I agree. I really like electrons. So I love working in a place that focuses on electrons.
Yeah,
So
Megan loves talking about electrons. It's and with reason. Electrons are so much fun.
They are so much fun. All right, so I have made my last cut along my last one, again making those 2 little walking feet. I take my last swoop that isn't connected, and I'm going to put it in my center. And at this point, you guys can probably see how this wind turbine is shaping up to accept wind, which is pretty cool. So there you go. You can see this. A couple things that I want to point out that we did that you don't necessarily have to do, but I'm going to explain why we did them. You'll note that Byron and I taped all of our corners down individually rather than kind of waiting till the end and then just using one piece of tape for all four wings. The reason why we like to do that, this creates a really sturdy center point. And when we're attaching our wind turbine onto its base so that we can test whether or not it will actually blow, this really sturdy center can be really helpful for making sure that it actually spins the way you think it's going to spin. And you can see, I think I'm going to have a good one today, Byron. I'm really excited.
It looks great.
When I spin it, you can see all of my nice swoops. So that's what you want to see kind of when you're looking down at it. You don't want to push it flat. You really want it to have this nice kind of curved shape to it because we know that that's what's going to accept the wind so that it can start moving. The last piece of this puzzle that we need to create is actually a base. And I'm going to teach you. You could also use this to create a paper straw. If you've ever wanted a straw and you didn't have one, this is a quick way that you can do it. But we are going to roll our sheet of paper and we are going to actually start here in the corner. And we're going to roll this way. And I'll show you why at the very end. But I start in the corner of my piece of paper and I'm going to roll it, and I'm going to roll it pretty tight. And you should try to do the same. They'll all be a little bit different, and that's great. That's one of the cool things about science is we can all do the same experiment and yet have slightly different results. It's always kind of a bummer when it does that and you're trying to get a research paper published. But at the same time, slightly different results are typically okay. So I'm just rolling it. This is going to be the base for my turbine. This is where I'm going to actually attach on my blade. And you can see that as I am rolling this, my paper is getting longer and longer. And the end result of this rolled straw is actually going to be a really sturdy stick that is longer than its original page. And that's just really nice when we're creating something like a wind turbine because we want to be able to blow on it and make it move. So I'm going to take that last little corner, my last piece that I rolled, and tape it down. The sturdiest part of your stick is going to be in the center. I like to, in carpentry tools, I'm going to pre-drill into my stick just because it can take a little bit of force. So I'm going to wiggle around my push pin. And I'm going to do a really good wiggle because I want to make sure that my turbine spins really, really well. So finally, now I'm going to take my push pin. I'm going to poke it through the center of my tape. Again, I've created that really, really sturdy space because I want to make sure that this push pin can kind of hold up and can hold against the stick. I'm going to put it on my base and I'm going to blow. And you can see that when I add wind to this, I get really nice movement, just like we would if we had a really windy day and we were working with wind turbines outside. So this is pretty cool and pretty fun. So here is what it looks like sitting up next to my face. Whoops. And that's why you want to be a little careful. You are dealing with a push pin, so there we go.
And now that you know how to create a base and the blades, the only thing that you need is that device that converts that mechanical energy into electrical energy, which you now know is that electromagnetic generator.
Awesome. So yeah, this is the basics for how a wind turbine is built and made. You guys have probably seen these lying around, and sometimes they're out in people's yards and they look really, really fun. If, like you said, if you could attach this turbine onto a little generator, you would actually make electricity every time it's spun, which is really, really fun. And it's so easy. And that's why wind is my favorite renewable energy resource, which is personal. Does anybody have any questions? If you are participating with us through Twitter, don't forget to use that hashtag Energy Earth Day. That's how we'll know that your questions are coming in. So we say, do you do this activity with students? This actually, normally when we do this with students, it's a little bit longer. We walk through a few more of the basics behind how an electromagnetic generator works, which is really, really fun. But we do this with students, and it's pretty fun.
One thing that students always ask of us is, when you're looking at this generator, you can see that the LED, the light bulb, is not staying on. It's flickering. And so that's a common question, of like, why is that happening? And usually we also go into the difference between what is known as AC electricity and DC electricity, and that's something that we actually talked when we talk to students about the differences between AC and DC electricity.
Yeah. So I actually love this question. We got asked, what are some examples of career types with wind energy? And one of the really cool things about wind energy is there are electrical engineers that work on wind energy. There are mechanical engineers that are constantly working to kind of build them bigger. There's actually a lot of computer programming that goes along with wind and wind energy design, because when you're talking about building a wind farm, you need to know where to build it, how tall to build those wind turbines. And a lot of that is done through computer modeling. We also have people that just have associate's degree that are known as wind techs. They're going to be the ones that kind of can go in and troubleshoot on those really tall wind turbine blades. One of the coolest things that one of our researchers shared with us that I would love to share with the audience is that she claims that she got her job because she not only was an engineer, but she was also a rock climber. And because she had both of those experiences, she was really well prepared to be strapped in on those really tall wind turbines. And she was prepared to know how to like belay so that she could go check on wind turbine blades, which is just really, really cool to have something that is, kind of an extracurricular passion paired with your degree. And that is what gets you a job. We also got asked, what are other materials that you can use for the generator? Really, the most important thing is that you need a conductor like copper wire, or a lot of, you could really use any different conductors, but the rare earth magnets are the most important thing. You have to have the really big rare earth magnets. So neodymium, I'm saying that wrong, but that's roughly correct.
That's
Um,
about the size. You can see the kind of
yeah.
comparison with a quarter.
Um, the really big ones can be really pricey. We were actually really lucky. I found a company in Colorado that specializes in magnets, so they have been able to provide us with some of them, not free, but they were a very reasonable price. But they are not hard to find. They can just be pretty expensive. They are also really dangerous. The
They are.
size that Byron's has, those will really, really hurt if your finger got smushed in between them. So you do have to be really careful with the rare earth magnets.
You
Um,
do, and I don't know if you realize, but I was kind of keeping everything that was metal away from my lab bench, because otherwise it just pulls it all in. It can be dangerous at points.
it can be really dangerous. When I bought them from the company, they wrote me a really nice hand note that was just like, "Be very careful, Megan." I laughed because I'm a chemist and we laugh at dangerous things. Um, this is our time, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with us, and we hope that you get to go outside and play with your wind turbines now.
And now you know how to build a generator as well.
Mhm.
Well, thank you, Megan and Byron, so much for that fun activity.